So this isn't a drinking video, because I don't even think this technically classes as alcohol, but I'm thirsty and it's nice, so let's go. Oh, that was all.
Oh, that was...
Well, it makes sense, it's not real beer, is it? In the ancient world, denizens of Sparta were respected across Greece for their prowess on the battlefield, masterful use of sarcasm, and love of really big shields. A lesser-known fact about the Spartans, though, is that they harboured a deep respect for the last group you'd think a group of hardened warrior badasses would even give a shit about. The elderly.
I'm not entirely clued up about the Spartans, I just know from ancient Greece. They had great armies for battles and stuff like that, so...
And you also watched the amazing documentary 300, which, is, as we've talked about in another video, is actually more factually accurate than you might expect, because a lot of the lines in that film were real quotes from actual Spartans. But obviously they're all in Greek, but they're real quotes.
But yeah, I didn't know that they loved the elderly. That's a new one.
So to understand why that's the case, you kind of need a crash course in Spartan culture. And you may be familiar with the old story about Spartans, that they would take babies and throw them off cliffs. Are you familiar with that at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a true story. There is no archaeological evidence to back it up.
So it's just a myth then?
Yeah, it's believed to have been propaganda spread about the Spartans by other places in Greece as a way of painting them as barbaric shitheads. Right. They were, however, kind of mean to babies, we'll get to in a moment. But before we move on, we absolutely 100% have to address that amazing edit some large donged hero on the internet did of, is it Rafiki?
Yeah.
When he holds Simba?
and
they edited it so he's just like Rory delapping him off the edge. And then you get all the others like, yeah, Mufasa's son's dead. Let's get high. It's so good. It's the best edit it's ever been.
Oh, I love stupid edits like that.
Oh, that's so funny.
So funny.
Like, what's your favourite one of them, like unexpected edits?
I really like the, it's probably really cringy, but the YouTube poop stuff that you get, where they just change the words.
Oh man, that was so good.
Where the Mulan one's really good.
I'm not familiar. Go on, remind me.
Where they just like change the words, like someone would say in a line, and they change it to like that famous Pingus line. Yeah, I think it's from Sonic.
Okay.
Where Dr. Spotnik says snooping as
Dr.
usual.
Spotnik was that.
What's his name?
Dr. Robotnik. Or Jim Carrey now.
Spotnik.
Dr. Spotnik. That sounds like the knockoff version you'd get from like a shop.
Oh no, like Robert Kopp. That was my favourite.
Robert Kopp. Oh man, did we cut out that story I told as well about Legend of Dragon? Because the video where I talked about that, I looked and went, oh, you cut that story out.
What you were talking about, I couldn't find evidence of it.
We're going to tell that again, because that was a really funny story, and I don't know why you cut out. Well, a couple of years ago, I went to a comedy show, and what the guy did for his comedy show, which I think is a great idea, was he went to a Poundland, or similar type store before the show, and just bought the cheapest, crappiest knockoff stuff he could find, and then talked about it on stage, just riffed on it.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a cool idea. And one of the things he did is this play set called Legend of Dragon. And this will stick in my head forever just because of the line we went, yeah, I bought the entire Legend of Dragon play set from Poundland. And you know what? There's no dragon in it. The dragon is so legendary, there's not even a toy of it. And it's just, that's such a good joke. And he'd come up with that on the spot. And now I'm stealing it from my YouTube video.
Bringing it back to the YouTube poop.
Yes, the poop of YouTube.
I noticed in a lot of YouTube videos, they use a clip from Dr. Robotnik, where he says snooping as usual, I see. And it just says pingus, which sounds a bit like penis. So they just put that, they just place words with pingus in Mulan and stuff.
I think we're playing Smash on the Wii U once. Like, obviously that's how long ago it was. The Wii U was still relevant. And we were just dicking around on the character select menu. So if you pick a character like Mario! And it's like, I think it's Xander Mobus, the voice actor. It's like really, earning his fucking paycheck. And we were just we managed to click on them in a certain way. So we got him to say it was Little Mac, Dark Pit, and then Ness. And then Peach as well. So, and when you click on those characters in a certain order with a certain timing, the announcer says, Little Dark Penis. We've just lost it. We should have recorded that and put it on YouTube. We're more popular than this channel. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, Spartans, I guess.
So we can clarify the Spartans didn't actually throw babies off cliffs.
No, it's believed to be historical propaganda.
But they were dicks to babies.
They were, yes. And if you were a Spartan baby, one of the first things you could expect upon being born was a bath. That doesn't sound too bad, does it? A lot of people bathe their babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Spartans didn't bathe their babies in water. They bathed them in wine. So what they do is they get a newborn baby and just put it in a bowl of wine. and submerge it in the wine to test its constitution, and presumably to make sure the baby could hold its booze. And similarly, Spartan mothers did...
Start them early.
Get him in. Start putting a shift in. Like, look at that. He's 4 minutes old and he's already down in a pint.
Get Jägerbombs in.
Get Jägerbombs in for baby. That's like that amazing picture, isn't it? It's like the shit post someone's done of like caring for baby. It's like, yes, and it shows like a mother holding the baby and bottle feeding it. It's like, no, and it's a baby with a glass of wine. But yeah, it's like just getting the babies, like getting them crunk early. And Spartan mothers similarly did not believe in swaddling or holding their babies, and would just leave them like on the floor for the elements, again, to improve their constitution.
A bit like what they do on The Sims.
Yeah,
Just kind of
put the baby on the floor.
Just leave it there.
Or one of my favourite images on the internet, which is like, I think it's a lady in McDonald's or something, just getting a drink, and she's put a baby on the floor. She's getting just like, do you know, like the fountain. She's at the fountain getting a drink, and it's just the baby's on the floor. It's like, what? Priorities.
Oh, I like them ones where they're carrying the babies and the baby's just like squashed on the back or something with a face planted in the back or in the boobs or anything.
It's difficult to look after a baby, but yeah, Spartan mothers did not believe in swaddling babies. They left them exposed to the elements under the belief that it would make them stronger and better warriors. And so you can argue against that fact all you want, but like the Spartan reputation for warfare spoke for itself and was renowned across the ancient world, and nobody fucked with the Spartans ever. And we talked about the famous story. It's like Philip of Macedon sent an envoy to the Spartans. And there's a story we already told in another video about Spartans, but I don't think you're familiar with this.
No, I'm not sure. No.
So it's Philip of Macedon sent an envoy to the Spartans when he was in the middle of conquering all of ancient Greece. That simply said, if I come to Sparta, I will raze it to the ground. To which the Spartan king at the time responded, if. Yeah, that's a fucking badass line. And Philip of Macedon was a bit pissed off about this, and he sent another envoy, said, would you rather I came to your lands as an enemy or a friend? To which the Spartan king at the time responded simply, neither. Philip of Macedon opted not to invade Sparta.
It's like when you get a message and you send someone a paragraph and they just reply, okay.
I'm so bad for that, I'm really sorry.
You're one of those people that do it.
Anyone who knows me, I'm really sorry, but I'm really bad at answering messages.
Like, yeah, send you a paragraph. I've done this. You're like, okay, thumbs up.
It can't be as bad as when I send the dolphin emoji to people, which is great. Anyway, we move on.
Okay, so before we go on to another tangent.
Yes.
Spartans, basically warriors.
Yeah, they were warriors effectively from birth, because their training officially began at age 7. But even before then, they would be taught the ways of Spartan life, even as babies, by getting dunked in wine and just left out in the open. But a male Spartan's military training began at age 7 and didn't end till they were 60 years of age. At which point, they were granted a bevy of perks, which included, but was not limited to, the undying respect and loyalty of every man younger than him. Because you have to think, if you could live to be over 60 years old as a Spartan, you fucking earned that shit. You were a badass beyond badasses.
Yeah, because I imagine a lot of Spartans didn't live to that age.
They did not, no. And again, I've mentioned this before in a previous video, but so we're on the same page. But ancient Spartans were so dedicated to their lives as warriors that the only way in ancient Spartan culture to earn the right to have your name written on your headstone, so to be remembered after death, was to fall in battle. If you did not fall in battle, you did not deserve or earn a tombstone. You were just buried, and that was it.
Forgotten about.
Yeah, because you didn't die defending Sparta's walls. Right. If you didn't go out swinging, you didn't go out properly. And the only exception to this rule was women who died in childbirth, which was seen as being the greatest battle of all. Because, in addition to respecting and loving the elderly, Spartans also love women. Yeah. Which often resulted in people from neighbouring, cities and states being kind of confused when they came to Sparta. And women in ancient Sparta were generally seen as being equal to men. And the famous quote about that is Queen Gorgo, only Spartan women give birth to men, in the film 300, which is actually a bastardization of the actual line that Queen Gorgo said in real life, when she was asked by a lady in a neighbouring city when she was there, being escorted by her guards. She was asked, so why are women in Sparta treated so well? And she just responded, because it is the women who give birth to the men. So it wasn't specifically about Spartan women, it was just about all women. Yeah. All women deserve respect and to be treated as equals, because without us, there are no men. And I wonder why that line of all the other ones got changed in the film directed by Zack Snyder. king of subtlety. Anyway.
Okay, so Spartans would fight until they were 60 years old.
Yeah, at which point they could retire from military service, but a lot of Spartan men opted to fight even beyond that. And if there was a war or a battle, many men over 60 would, pick up their shield and once again march into battle to earn that sweet, sweet tombstone. And I think King Leonidas, like Gerard Butler, he was 65, I think, at the time of the Battle of Thermopylae.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly how old it is, but historical sources say he was an old ass man at the time. He wasn't Gerard Butler age. He was an old ass man when Thermopylae happened, and he was still kicking ass at that age.
I can't, even now, I can't imagine going into battle. Just imagine someone that age going into battle, feeling now, at this age at 27, I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
I can't bother.
Fast forward 30 years, and the Spartans are like, yeah, I'll fucking go. And also still fight on par with younger men with, with decades of youth on their side. And the Spartans, they were renowned, across the ancient world for their, prowess in battle, but also their respect for the elderly. As I mentioned earlier, it was often confusing for people from neighbouring cities and states to come to Sparta and see how well the elderly were treated when they generally weren't treated all that well elsewhere in ancient Greece. And there's even a nod to this in God of War, of all things, in the 2018 remake, where they're talking about Valhalla, obviously the Norse afterlife, and Kratos just asks, so who gets sent to hell and not Valhalla? He goes, people who died of infirmity, the elderly. And Kratos just responds with incredulity, it's dishonourable to grow old. Because obviously in Spartan culture, growing old is the most badass thing you can do because it means you, survived.
Well, I'm going to assume you've got some stories for me, for an example.
Yes, because this is Fact Fiend, we always have stories. And my favourite story comes from an Olympic event. I don't recall the exact details of it, but the story is as follows. As a little bit of background, back in those days, it was generally the case that people from each state would sit in their own dedicated stands. So people from Sparta will sit in the Spartan stand, people from Athens will sit in the Athenian stand. So there is a story that tells of an old-ass, doddering man wandering around these stands looking for a seat. And he goes to the Athenian ones, gets laughed, jeered, booed, people throw food at him, well, fuck off. And this happens with every single one of the stands that he goes to, just looking for a seat, until he approaches the Spartan stands. And
did they all stand up?
That's exactly what happened, yes. The story says all the people there have been thinking, well, of course the Spartans, those guys are dickheads. They're going to make fun of him even more than we did. And what happened was every single Spartan male stood up and offered the man their seat.
Just imagine it like a Mexican wave, they all just stand up.
But because it's a Spartan one, I'm imagining the Mexican wave, they're all holding the shield. But yeah, every single Spartan man stood up and offered the old man their seat, to which the old man is said to have exclaimed, only in Sparta does it pay to grow old. And there are other less famous stories that are just anonymous accounts of people who went to Sparta. A personal favourite of mine is an account from an old man who went to a latrine in Sparta and had a big buff Spartan soldier offer him his seat on the toilet. Because he's just well, you're an old man, you need the toilet more than me. And I'm just imagining that these days.
Yeah.
He's going to the toilet, so no, I have mine. It's warm.
That's the worst. That's the worst thing is a warm toilet seat.
Unless you have a heated toilet seat, which I don't, but I've been in hotels where you do, and that shit is amazing.
I've never experienced that. I've always had the previously warmed up by the person before me. That's it.
I've been to one fancy hotel that had heated toilet seats, and it wasn't worth it as I pay for Wi-Fi.
Was this in Japan?
It was not in Japan, no. It was in Germany, I believe it was.
I thought it'd be in Japan, because then they have really...
They have fancy toilets, yes. I nearly shit myself though. Literally, when I was in Japan, I was in a Japanese airport, and there's a button that just has water on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I assumed that was the button to flush the toilet. It wasn't the button to flush the toilet. It was the button to spray a jet of water directly into my ass. But I've been dicking around with the buttons, and I pressed the button that said plus, thinking that would do something. What's this button do? What's it do? And when I pressed that button, a jet of water I would liken to the ones you see coming out of the hoses that they use to wash cars, shot directly into my anus. At which point I stood up and screamed. Yeah, Spartans love the elderly.
So I've been meaning to ask, what is that drink that you've been drinking this whole video?
It is Rattler, which for people who don't know is just beer with fruit juice in it. In this case, lemon, and it is 2%. So it's something you can just drink and not worry about getting drunk. And the only reason I got it is I saw this great interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger, again, which is thematically appropriate, an old-ass man who's super buff and can still kick your ass, where Men's Health are interviewing him and just look in his fridge, because apparently that's the thing they do for one of their YouTube series. I'm like, yeah, I'll see what's in Arnold Schwarzenegger's fridge. Why the fuck not? And he opened it up and he pulled out a load of Rattler and went, oh, I always have this after the gym. Because back when I used to train, back in the day, when I was like Mr. Universe, we'd have beer.
Yeah.
Because what would happen is, it was milk back then, and I fucking hate milk. So what me and the other guys from Europe would do is get beer out of big steins. So they'd do like a full workout and then get a stein. And I went, that sounds like a really nice, just post-gym cool down. So I just started buying it and really got into it, and I really like it.
Is it kind of like hooch? Because that's lemon.
Similar, yes.
Is it not as lemony?
No,
I imagine it's quite weak. It looks quite weak.
Yeah, it is. And I'm assuming the people are making fun of me for it right now. But if Arnold Schwarzenegger says that this is a good thing to have after going to the gym, so I went to the gym this morning, did some squats, I feel great. I'm gonna listen to the advice of Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger. Like when it comes to, like, okay, so what do you do? What would you drink after a workout? I drink beer. Well, it's the man has spoken. I better listen to him.
I think I read an article ages ago about what Jennifer Aniston eats in a day to keep her shape. I'm like,
what is it? Is it like
it's something ridiculous, like eggs or something in the morning, a salad, like really minimal meals. I'm just thinking, how can you survive on that? Because I need to like get back into a routine of eating better and going to the gym, but I can't imagine just eating like a salad every day.
Yeah, I'd hate it.
I need my carbs.
I had a thing this morning where my friend was, I just had like Indian food. And they were like, I'm so full. I went, I just had a coffee and a protein bar. And that was my breakfast. And then I got in and just had a pot of cottage cheese. And then I come to the office and had a coffee and a beer. My eating habits are terrible.
So that's what you've eaten today?
Yeah, but I'll be going home later and I'll be getting like a big chicken with lots of vegetables.
To be honest, all I've eaten is a bag of McCoys and half a bag of Red Leicester
2
mini
bags of
cheddars.
crisps. The Nisha special.
The healthy diet.
How does Nisha do it? 2 bags of crisps a day.